Today I am roasting a chicken for dinner, and I'm gonna make cornbread dressing to go with it. And a friend of mine, Melanie Rooks, who I've known since she was a little bitty girl, asked me to share my recipes. So today we're gonna put together some cornbread dressing just like you would fix for Thanksgiving. Okay, so cornbread dressing, of course, has to start with cornbread. Now this is just a small loaf pan of cornbread that I baked earlier today, and I'm going to break it up in this bowl. And you use whatever kind of cornbread mix you like. This is actually not the one. I got the wrong kind of cornbread mix at the grocery store, and this one didn't rise quite as well as I hoped it would, but it'll be fine for dressing. I use 10 to bake yellow cornbread mix normally for my cornbread that we eat and for dressing. So we're just gonna crumble that whole thing up in there. Now we need breadcrumbs, and I had some hamburger buns that were gonna go bad before I used them, so I just stuck them in the oven while I was making the cornbread and toasted them, and that's how we're gonna make our breadcrumbs. So I'm just gonna chop that up. I'm going to use 2 whole hamburger buns. If you don't have hamburger buns, just use plain bread. Or you can buy breadcrumbs at the grocery store. Alright, so we're going to crumble that up in there with that cornbread. So I'd say that's probably 2/3, maybe 2/3 cornbread and 1/3 of the breadcrumbs. I'm not going to worry too much about crumbling that up too fine, because when we put the liquid in it, it's just going to kind of disintegrate anyway. All right, and so now I'm going to use 1 onion. I'm going to chop this up pretty fine. I don't mind the big chunks of onion in mine, but as long as I get that good flavor, I'm good. Let's get you down here where you can see what my hands are doing. I'll chop up that onion. Okay, and that goes in the bowl. Now I'm going to use the whole thing because this is going to be a pretty good sized pan of dressing. All of that goes in the bowl. And now I'm going to put in 2 sticks of melted butter. One of them's not quite melted, but it's softened good enough that I can go ahead and put it in there. And then celery. I love celery in my dressing. You can peel your celery if you want to. Take the strings off of it by just grabbing the top like that and pulling the strings off. I don't mind the strings. I think that's just part of being celery. Now you can use the tops of the celery too. It wouldn't hurt a thing. But this one, didn't have any tops on it, so I think I'm going to put just a little bit more in there because I don't believe that's going to be quite enough. All right. Now, Melanie and her sister Melissa work with us at our restaurant, and we just had the best time. I've known those girls since they were little bitty, and their family is just like our family. All right, a little bit more celery. All right, now let's get me a big spoon. Stir that up a little bit. All right, this is the spice that goes into dressing. It's dried sage. Now, if I were using fresh sage, I would use twice as much as I'm getting ready to put in here because dried sage is stronger after it dries. So I'm going to put about 2 tablespoons of dried sage in there. Okay. Now we're going to add a little bit of salt, not too much. And I'm going to go get my chicken stock, and I'll be right back. Okay, it's time to moisten up that cornbread and breadcrumbs. I went and got my chicken stock out, but I wanted to show you I'm roasting my chicken, and probably when you're going to be making cornbread dressing, you're going to be making or baking a turkey. I poured the drippings off of the chicken. I didn't get many because it's not been baking long, but this is the drippings out of the pan. So I'm going to add that first, and then I'm going to make it up with just store-bought chicken stock. So let's see if I can get the camera down where you can see it. So in goes the drippings. All right, this is a 32-ounce box of just chicken stock. Now you can make your own chicken stock and it would be great, but I'm gonna put this whole thing in there because I'm gonna let it set for a little while and let all of those breadcrumbs and the cornbread soak it up. Now that looks like it's gonna be too much liquid, but I'm gonna give it a good stir and let that liquid get in there with all of that bread. And then I'm just going to let it set for about 5 minutes and let it absorb all that liquid. Okay. Well, it's been about 10 minutes since I put our chicken stock in with the cornbread and breadcrumbs and the 2 sticks of butter and chopped onion and chopped celery. Then we put 2 tablespoons of sage, dried sage in it, and a little bit of salt. And I want you to look how that cornbread and breadcrumbs has absorbed all of that liquid. That was 32 ounces of chicken stock. Now at this point, a lot of people like to put boiled eggs, chopped up boiled eggs in their dressing. Some people cook the giblets out of the turkey and cut the giblets up and put it in it. I save the giblets for the gravy. So you could put the boiled eggs in here if you wanted to, or the giblets, but this is just plain cornbread dressing. So this dressing now is going to go into the pan. And I was going to put it in this little one, but I think it's going to be big. That's perfect. I love these Pyrex baking pans because they come with the handles, and also they come with a lid that just sits down in it on top. So So now I'm going to put that dressing in the oven. I'm going to bake it at about 400 degrees. And I will keep an eye on it and let you know how long it had to bake. And I'll show you the finished product when we get done. Now I wanted to mention that after I poured the chicken stock into that cornbread and breadcrumbs and let it set for about 10 minutes, I used the back of the spoon and mashed up any of the cornbread. I even got in there with my hands and made sure all of the cornbread was ground up and that the liquid could be absorbed by it. So it's baking now and it smells so good, and I'll let you see it in just a minute. Okay, there's our pan of dressing, and I am going to admit that I think I put just a little bit too much liquid in it because it took an hour to bake this at 400 degrees, and it doesn't normally take quite that long, but it's really moist and it's holding together well. So, Melanie, I know you are going to do great making this for your family for Thanksgiving. Love you.